our monthly Board of Education meeting. And at this time, I would like to begin the meeting with a moment of silence to reflect. God, we give you thanks for this wonderful day and all the beauty we have experienced. We're so glad our staff has received a well-deserved break and rest period. We're thankful for all of our returning students and are excited for the new ones that will start our new schools. Give us the strength and the wisdom to help guide them by leading by example. Give us the courage to tackle difficult tasks and the patience to figure out challenging decisions. Help us to be joyful providers, to know where our interests are best directed. Walk with all of us that need your wisdom and strength, as all is possible with you by our side. In your name we pray. Amen. Jen Nagadula, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? Come on, stand up. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You never know when you're going to get called on around here.
You scared me. I thought you were talking to me at first.
Just be glad it wasn't the lead singing.
You know? Yeah, you'd have to sing. Yeah. All right, we got a couple presentations to start with. Mr. Welch, I believe you're first, the TSBA Board of Distinction. We have Mr. Pat Welch here representing the Tennessee School Boards Association, and he is here. We did apply this past year for the Board of Distinction and qualified, and I believe he's here to present us something. And Mr. Welch, if you could come to our microphone so everyone can hear you.
I came with a script that was
Excellent.
made by Nashville, and they said stick to it.
Okay.
So, thank you, Chairman Nestor, members of the board. It's my privilege to be here tonight to present you with the TSBA Board of Distinction Award. This award is one of TSBA's most prestigious awards. I commend your board for meeting the requirements in 4 key areas: planning, policy, promotion, and board development. As you know, the requirements are extensive, and not every board qualifies as a board of distinction. However, this board is among those select few. On behalf of the Tennessee School Boards Association, I'm proud to present the Board of Distinction Award to the Coffee County Board of Education.
Thank you. I'll come up there. Let's get right here so we can maybe see some of these fine folks. Don't let's block anybody. We don't want to cover anybody up.
Hey. You the lead.
All right. And now next presentation is the Dusty Elam Foundation. Mr. Shores, do you want to do that?
Going to turn it over to Mr. Westmoreland.
Miss Warman, come on up.
It is with great honor that I get to take a moment to lift up a foundation that is a substantial part of the growth of Coffee County and Manchester. The Dusty Elam Foundation has been around for 20 years plus. I've known Chris my entire career, way back when he was a student. Miss Sarah Beth teaches, I think, at Raider Academy or Coffee County Middle. And the work they do for Coffee County, serving the students of Coffee County, students with special needs in Coffee County, is just enormous, the effect they're having on the lives of the families and children of our community. So what I would like to do is ask them to come forward. We can't say enough and do enough to pay you back for anything your family does. And the legacy of your father will always be remembered, and your family for what you do in our community. So I would like to present you with just a plaque. I mean, it's not much, but it's something to say thank you for what you do and what your family does for our community and our students and families.
Thank you. Appreciate
You
that.
are more than welcome.
Thank you very much, because you all do touch many of the students that, in our schools throughout the year, and you are really appreciated. Does the board have any comments or questions for Mr. Elam before he leaves? Not? Thank you, and you're welcome to stay. Don't leave. Thank y'all. The Special Olympians, or is that you also? Okay.
I may have to read some. I sent out, we send a group of students to the Special Olympics, you know, every year we've had, other than the COVID years when it was canceled. This year we had several students participate in the Special Olympics, and I wanted to just recognize them and just let the community know that there's a whole lot of special things going on in our community that involves students at every level. We have a few students who maybe are here. We have one so far, one running late. The invitation was sent out to every student. But you know, this is not the school year. This is the summertime. So hopefully those students are on the lake or fishing or hanging out with their parents or whatever. So if y'all would just come on in. This is Miss Betty Shelton. She is our special ed teacher over at Coffee County Middle School. And I'm going to let her introduce one of her students and mom if she wants to. Go ahead.
Hi, this is Thomas Means. He's one of our wonderful, amazing athletes that gets to participate with our program. We have another one that's hopefully going to be here in a few minutes without mom getting a ticket. Anyway, so this is Thomas. Thomas, come on over. And this is Jessica. This is his mom. She's very involved in his education as well as his extracurricular activities. Mr. Westmoreland really wanted to allow the kids to know that they really have a special part in his heart, as not just in mine. He may not like it as much as we do, so we'll just kind of share the part.
I'm not big on jewelry.
We'll give it to mom. Can I give it to mom?
We purchase these medallions. Every Special Olympian will receive a medallion over the coming days or when school starts. We'll make sure they get theirs, and we're just looking for bigger and better things from year to year as Special Olympics grows. And I want to give a shout out to Tullahoma City for hosting that. They did a tremendous job with even the weather issues we had. So a shout out to Tullahoma City for supporting that and letting us work with them on that.
And when we have another one that runs in, she may run in literally, whether I ask her to or not. And when she does, I may run and interrupt y'all's meeting. And I
That would be fine.
apologize.
We would love to get her picture up here with the medal.
Because
If-
her mom
if-
has got a bunch of family members. in,
That's
things like
lovely.
that,
You
so-
just let us know when
Well,
she shows
You'll
up.
see her.
Okay. Well, good. Well, we'll be ready.
Thank you.
And I also want to give a shout out to Miss Jennifer Killian. She's one of our coordinating teachers at Coffee County Middle School. And she, you know, it's a tireless job, sometimes a thankless job, but you do a great job, Miss Killian.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for coming and keep up the good work. It's a wonderful
We
what y'all do.
enjoy
Is
it. It is the best thing
Excellent.
ever. I love regular ed kids, but not for $1 million a day.
Yeah.
I love my
Very
kids.
good.
I love my kids.
Love to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. At this time, I would like to entertain a motion to accept the agenda today that's been presented, at the same time pass the general consent items.
So move.
Mr. Parsley,
Second.
Ms. Jennifer. Any questions about the agenda or the items?
I just have one question.
Okay.
On these outings for volleyball and baseball and basketball that include parents driving a vehicle, who would be responsible if there was an accident? Would that be on the parents or the school system? I've often thought of that because I've carried children to events, and it's always been a question of who.
When a parent actually drives, they are required to have a certain number of amount on their insurance. to take care of it. So if they're actually driving, it would go to their insurance because it's their vehicle and they're driving.
Okay, so we ask for that?
That is a requirement.
Do you
Okay,
get copies of it to make sure or anything like that?
The school's supposed to be getting copies, so I'm assuming the ADs either receive it or the principal and so forth.
thank you.
Okay. So we're going to vote to approve, to accept the agenda and pass the general consent items. We're going to start with Mr. Gilly today, and we'll go this way. Mr. Crabtree?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Action item number 1, consolidated funding application, fiscal year 2024-25.
Yes,
You wanna
Ms.
speak
Cole
with
is really big in this, and I'm gonna let her start off. I think she's gonna give a summary, and you can answer any questions that the board has.
Good afternoon. I wanted to share a summary of the consolidated funding application the best I can. This is it. You have it in front of you. It's over 200 pages and it's a lot. This is a state template that we're required to complete every year for federal funding in our title programs and IDEA. And all of our elementary schools are Title I schools and the Coffee County School District. One thing that I need you to know is this is a standard procedure. Every year this is something that we do, and the state also approves the plan as well. I have a few notes because there's so much to tell you, but I want to try to simplify this as much as possible. So Title I is the largest of the federal title allocations, and so that's where I'm going to spend a little more time. We've lost funding in Title I over the past few years, so that's a pattern that we've noticed. Most of our funding is in personnel. So at the elementary schools, they have Title I funded elementary interventionist for ELA and for math. So that's something standard that we've tried to keep, regardless of the loss of funding. And our other challenge is salary increases. So as you know, we were already in a predicament last year with the salary increases and the step raises, those kinds of things. But now the new challenge to this is keeping up with the 7%. And so that's just something that we have to deal with. There are a couple of ways that I've dealt with it this year. So the good news is in Title I for the 24-25 school year, we're keeping the same programs. We're not having to lose people. Now, we've had to lose people before. A couple years ago, we actually did as well, but we don't have to for this coming year. But the only way that we were able to make that happen this year is we also have Title IV funding, which is in here as well. But the state allows me to transfer funding out of Title IV into Title I to help keep our people. And so that's what we've chosen to do. We don't have a lot of stuff in Title I. We don't purchase a lot of equipment. Actually, after all the losses and the challenges with funding, there's not really a lot of funding left for professional development and equipment and materials and supplies. There have been years where we've had those things, but it's just to a point now where we don't. But anyway, we've got that challenge to deal with. So we're able to hang on for one more year due to Title IV transferring that money in, and also have some Title I carryover. So I've had Title I carryover in the past, and that's been helpful. And it's always able to replenish itself somehow, some way, but not anymore because of just the loss in federal funding and also the salary increases. So this year we're okay. Next year we're going to see something, it's going to look different, and I'm not sure how much money we're going to lose. I don't anticipate we will receive any more money because the pattern shows we're decreasing, we're not increasing. So next year, either we're going to have to lose some personnel, or I'm going to have to ask general schools to help supplement the supplement, which is Title I. And so I'm just not sure what we'll be able to do. So the good news is we can maintain the program this year, and the bad news is I'm not sure what's going to happen the next year, but that's the nature of federal funding. It's Title I in this district it's like a roller coaster. It's hard to predict, It just seems like we're decreasing at this point instead of increasing. So Title I decreased from last year to this year. Title II, it increased just a little bit. We didn't see big decreases anywhere other than Title I, and then Title IV. It's a small budget. It's about 80,000, but I took about 60 out to take it to Title I. So it lost 10,000 on its own. So those are the challenges and some of the changes, but we are able to maintain the programs for the 24-25 school year. And IDEA, special ed and pre-K also in this as well. Are there any questions?
Just being able to transfer that money, there's no guidelines you have to follow, you're just basically allowed to transfer that?
That's a great question. The interesting thing is, I've done this job for several years and I've never transferred any money until this year. There are guidelines. You can't transfer in and out all titles, but they do allow the flexibility to transfer out of Title IV to Title I. And so that's allowable. I'm sure there are more guidelines. I just know the one I chose, it's allowable.
Okay, that's what
Let's get a motion in a second first. You don't go anywhere.
Make that motion.
You want to make, did it come with the director's recommendation to accept this funding application? Okay. You'd like to make
so
a
moved.
motion to accept the
I'll second.
consolidating funding application?
And I apologize for.
Jones and Mr. Parsley. Okay, now, Mr. Ballard, go ahead.
So this is direct federal funding coming into our budget. What percentage of our budget? It's a fairly small percentage of our this is the 401 budget, right? Our main education budget,
This is Title I. I think it's 101.
101? Okay, so this is a
Let April. Let Ms.
separate
Nelson.
budget, okay.
So this is Fund 142. So this is nothing that you see in your budget update.
Okay,
This is
so
separate from the general
This is a
fund.
separate budget.
That's
Okay,
right.
got it. So this is,
This is completely separate.
okay,
Yes.
okay. So we generally don't see that budget, so here,
Right.
so.
And actually, the state just recently said that districts, LEAs the school board can approve a resolution to dismiss further requirements on Title I. That's never happened before either. So some districts have actually done that because it's strictly federal funding. We just haven't, we've been busy and had things and we haven't mentioned that before, but since I'm up here, that's a good question.
So are there possibilities of transferring from the 401 budget to the 101 budget?
When you say 401 budget, you're speaking in different language to me.
The general education budget, I
okay.
guess. I'm
All right,
sorry.
will you ask your question again?
So is there a possibility from, that's the 54 million, our big budget.
Yeah.
So is there a possibility we can transfer from there to the Title I,
Yes.
supplement the Title I from there?
Yes.
If we need to.
Yes, sir.
I think you said you could cover, you would come back and ask.
Yeah.
That's where that would come
Yes,
from,
I'm
correct?
with you. I'm with you now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that is a possibility if funding allows. Yes.
Okay. Yeah,
But if you
obviously.
transferred that then to the general budget for their use, then what would you do with all the personnel in Title?
Oh, I would have there would be no need to transfer all. There but would be a need to see what the budget can do and take it as far as we can. And then if general could pick up 10% of each person,
Oh, so you're looking the opposite way. I was thinking Thomas was talking about transferring that into the general budget.
I was
No,
thinking,
the other way around.
Oh, okay, okay, so you're saying that the regular budget could,
Cover
supplement
her
title.
shortage.
Supplement title, yes.
so we have
cover.
had those
Sorry.
conversations in the past, and we thought we might even have to do it this year
Right.
because we didn't know. Now, these numbers are preliminary. When final comes in, and final could come in April, next April. It came in April. Our allocation for the 23-24 school year, final figures came in April. That's never happened before. They typically come in early fall. But yes, we have had those conversations where we may need to blend some funding to make this work.
Can you explain to the board where that funding, how we get our funding? Because I know it's based on poverty level, and I know that we are not showing the poverty level that I really feel like we have in Coffee County.
And we haven't for years. So the census is very important in the formula. And with the census, what happened in Coffee County, the last census in this school district area, our participation went up and our population went up. But what matters in the formula for funding to occur, that's the kids ages 5 to 17 in poverty level, it went down. So our percentage shows of all the people who completed the census that we are hovering around 16.1% poverty. Now that doesn't match anything with our free and reduced numbers because we have schools with 77% free and reduced and then schools with 75% and then from there. So they do not mirror each other at all, and this has been a battle that we've had since Mr. Jones has been here. It just doesn't reflect what we feel it should. So we're lower on the census in poverty than Manchester City and Tullahoma City.
So we're showing a more income level than Manchester City and Tullahoma City. And I know at one time we were in the same category as Franklin Special School District with the census, and that is completely false.
True,
So,
yes.
I mean, I don't know what we do, but the next time census comes around, Coffee County needs to look at what we can do to make sure all these people are counted.
And that's a great point. And we thought with our participation increasing that would help, but it didn't. It wasn't advantageous to the funding piece of this anyway. So you're exactly right.
Right offhand, last year's funding you lost, do you remember that dollar?
We lost in Title I from last year to this fiscal year. Preliminary number shows about $16,000 reduction from last year to this year. Typically, from preliminary to final, we'll go down several more thousand. So I expect we're going to lose a little more.
Okay, thank you.
Any more questions, Ms. Cole?
Do we still have the highest allocation of the 3 school systems in the county, or do you know?
I don't know. I did not look at the other schools' allocations or the other districts' allocations.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank
We are now going to take a vote to accept the consolidated funding application that was presented. Mr. Crabtree, your first vote.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes with a vote of 8-0. Action item number, thank you, Ms. Cole, for your explanation. Action items number 2, the board meeting dates, fiscal year 2024-25. Mr. Shores, you want to comment on this?
Okay, each year at this time, we pull together the next year's dates. And as you can see here, we have the date for each month. It's the second Monday of the month. Then we have the 2 board work sessions, which is the fall retreat and the spring retreat.
Okay, and this would come with the director's recommendation to approve this meeting schedule?
Yes, it does.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation to accept the board meeting dates that we've been presented. I'd like to open the floor for a motion to accept these.
So moved.
Ms. Rose, a second.
Second.
Mr. Crabtree. Questions on the dates or the work sessions?
We normally have more work sessions. I know we have the retreat, but we usually have a work session every third month or so, it seems like, so.
We usually do have more work sessions, correct? But they can be scheduled,
I think they're added in later.
Yeah,
they can be scheduled according to
Okay.
whatever needs.
all right, just checking.
But
Can I put this out here into the world to please not have a work session on the first week of school when everyone's doing open houses? Because last year that happened and I had to choose between board and going with my kids to open houses. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that affects. It's not on here, but like Thomas said, we usually have more. I'll come any other time, just I need to go to these open houses.
any more concerns? Hearing none, we're going to vote to approve the board meeting dates for next year. Ms. Rose,
Aye.
Aye.
Jones?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That also passes 8-0. Action item number 3, differentiated pay plan fiscal year 2024, 2025.
Okay, this is actually a law that we have to abide by, and we have to have a differentiated pay plan. We bring this to the board each year because it's in policy. One of the things that has been discussed is possibly going back to policy with this, and as long as there's not a change from one year to the next, that we might not want to actually bring it to the board. That would be definitely up to the board to decide. But this is something we do each year at this time, and as you can tell here, it is the differentiated pay plan that the Coffee County has used for the past several years, and we're just bringing it back to the board for approval.
Okay. And this comes with the director's recommendation?
Yes, it does.
So you've heard the recommendation to accept the differentiated pay plan that's been presented for 2024, 2025. I'd like to open the floor for a motion as such.
So moved.
Ms. Rose, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Jones. Questions on the pay plan?
This is for teachers, right?
This is for teachers, yes.
Okay. How does this line up with the state requirement that I think it's next year that the base has to be 50,000?
This does not count in with that base. This is a completely separate setup. This is actually for extra duties that they are performing at the buildings,
Okay.
and so it does not connect with the 50,000 mark.
Okay.
What are PLC facilitators? What does PLC stand for?
Professional learning communities. It's been a
Okay.
few years since I was in the principal role with that. Professional learning communities. And so the PLCs actually meet, it depends on the school, how they work. It could be once a week, it could be once a month or so forth, that the PLC leader actually lines those up and presents or looks at data and so forth with the teachers.
Do they do that with just a select few in each school, or is that open to all the teachers?
It's
available?
by grade levels.
By grade level.
And usually the principals at those PLCs or admin,
Okay.
as well as the teachers, and you might have one teacher that is more the lead teacher for that
Okay.
PLC.
Thank
Do
you.
they apply for this, or are they
It's-
appointed? Does
It's
every
appointed-
teacher have the opportunity to do
It's-
this sort of thing?
It's basically appointed by the principal of each building. And who's gonna fit that role the best.
Any more questions? Not, we're voting to approve the differentiated pay plan. Ms. Jones?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Did our other student show up? Yes. Oh, come on up here. Somebody's excited back there.
All right.
You look so pretty in your dress.
Alicia Santilli. She's one of my 7th graders, the other one was an 8th grader.
Okay.
So she'll be with us another year at the middle school. This year we did do soccer as well as track and field and bowling. So soccer we didn't do this year, we're going to do that next year. Bowling and track and field, and we have a lot of fun when they're out there.
Excellent. We're glad that you made it. We're so glad and proud of you.
Congratulations.
Yay. Thank you. And thank you for coming and bringing her.
This is why I love what I do.
Uh-huh.
A lot of excitement.
I'm gonna say you run a lot, as a mother.
In the month of June, in the month of May, I walked 100 miles.
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and that's a normal activity.
Very good.
Real well at night, and I exercise every morning.
What's that?
She's got the sweetest smile.
Yep. She's excited.
Excellent.
Dr. Anderson has to pour a bucket of ice water on her every morning.
She's so good with that.
Well, good. Well, thank y'all very much, and we're glad you were here today and all that you're accomplishing with these children.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was the exciting part of the meeting. Now back to Coffee County High School CTE Ironsmith Fire. Mr. Shores, is that
Yes.
you?
It is. Okay, this is basically a bid. We have a backflow valve. Well, actually, we're lacking a backflow valve at the entrance where the water's coming in for our sprinkler systems and our fire areas that needs to be there. And the fire departments and water department is requiring it to be there. And at this time, we actually have a leak at the spot, so we not only need to repair it, we also need to update. And that's what this is about. And it is tied in with the CTE building because there was a backflow valve planned to go into the CTE building. And if we put this one in, we can actually remove the 4-inch and put in an 8-inch, in which will take care of not only the CTE building, but three other zones within the building. So this is a very pricey job that has to be done. It does run our sprinkler systems throughout the high school, and due to that, it also has to be connected into the fire alarm there at the high school. To kind of give you an idea of the problems that we've run into, this past winter when we had some of the really cold weather and we ended up having to close down a few days, we ended up having to shut down the water to this because we were fearful that it was going to freeze. And when we closed it down, that also closes down any extracurricular activities that's taking place in the building unless we have fire watch, which is extra cost as well. So this is a repair as well as an upgrade that needs to take place. And since it is over $25,000, it needs to come before the board. And there was no discretionary funds placed into the building of the CTE building. So that's the reason why it's in front of you now at this time.
Okay. And this CT Ironsmith Fire bid comes with the director's recommendation to accept it.
Yes, it does.
Okay. You've heard the recommendation to accept the bid or proposal from Ironsmith Fire for the CTE project is we've been presented. I'd like to open the floor for a motion.
So move.
Is that Mr. Parsley? Second.
Second.
Ms. Rose, questions on this?
Are these funds coming out of the grant that we got for the CTE building? Or
No.
this is not related to the CTE building, it's just at the CTE building?
It is connected to the CTE building because we have sprinkler systems in the CTE building, and this is taking care of the backflow valve that is already in the plans for the CTE building. So we would be, or it's actually included, a deduct of $4,550
Right.
for that 4-inch valve, and we would be installing the 8-inch valve at $44,254. So it is connected, but it's more on our side than it is the CTE side. So it would actually be coming out of capital outlay.
Okay.
Was this what we replaced at the high school, the sprinkler system and everything at the, didn't we do something?
No, this has not been anything touched with this part. No.
Okay. But wasn't any connection to it to know anything was wrong or anything of that nature, or?
Not at that time, because we would have been, I'm not sure which part you're talking about, which project.
This is a backflow.
Okay.
Was this discovered because of the
Because of that?
CTEA building and they?
Actually,
looked
it
to
was
see-
discovered with the water department and the fire departments because it's right at the hydrant, the fire hydrant. If you pull into the bus loading zone on the backside. You will see it directly right there next to a fire hydrant, and you'll see that it's leaking right now. And it actually goes underground. We're gonna be bringing it all up above ground, which should also help us with the problems that we're having. And also, like I said, it'll take care of the freezing part of it as well, because it's gonna have a hot box.
I stand corrected. I was thinking of the fire alarm system thing that we,
Yeah.
so,
And there is connections in with the fire alarm because it does have to connect to this valve.
okay.
Is this company one that is, under the state bidding thing that we do, or?
Actually, this company is already doing some work on the CTE building, so that's the reason why it connected in really well.
Okay.
Any more questions? So we're going to vote to approve the CT Ironsmith fire bid.
So the final cost is $44,254 minus $4,550, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Are we adding the
If we have to do it on a weekend, but the plan is not to, and that's the reason why we'd like to get it done now so that we can get it done during the summertime when there's no students, because we have to cut the water completely off.
Okay, we're voting to approve action item number 4, the Ironsmith fire proposal bid. Miss Jennifer?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Surplus, Ms. Shores.
Okay, we have several items. One of my goals is to continue to clean up our campuses and our facilities, and we have several items that need to be surplus. These include the school furniture at the high school. We're replacing the furniture that was approved by the board several months ago. We have an upright freezer that's over at the maintenance shop, an old zero-turn mower that is well, it's just not working, and it's not worth it. A flail mower that we no longer use because we do have the bush hog as well as a finishing mower, and then a wood planer. And I've checked with the high school to see if they needed the wood planer, and they Mr. Skipper said that they do not. This wood planer would not be useful to them. So these are the items that asking for approval to surplus.
Okay, so it comes with the director's recommendation to surplus these items.
Yes, sir, it does.
Okay, we'd like to open the floor for a motion to surplus the items that we got from June 10th, 2024.
So moved.
Mr. Crabtree made the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Jennifer. Questions on these items? Hearing none, we're voting to surplus the items that were listed. Action item number 5. Mr. Parsley.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. Use of facilities. Action item number 6. Alante Taylor Youth Football Camp. Request to all fees to be waived. Mr. Shores, you want to comment on this one?
Yes, sir. Alante Taylor is a fixture within our community that has been very successful, and from my understanding, he's wanted to come back and give back to our community, which I think is a great thing for our students to get some of his expertise and to help our football program as well. And he has reached out to one of our ADs and asked if he could use the football field, and the AD is turn in this information for the use of it, and I think that's Mr. McWhorter. And Mr. McWhorter said that he would be there during the camp. It'd be a full day using the football field and would help out with the trash and so forth. And the recommendation of the director is to waive the fees.
Okay, so the director's recommendation would be, as I think as we have in the past, to approve this with the fees waived as long as an employee of the system was
Correct.
present.
Correct. Now, he would still have to provide the insurance.
The insurance, correct. Yeah. Okay. So you've heard the recommendation. I'd like to open the floor for a motion.
I'll move.
Second.
So Mr. Gilly and Mr. Crabtree. So we are gonna, it will be to all fees waived. He will have to provide insurance, and there will be a employee present. Okay, any questions about this?
I'll be there too, Brandon. I signed my boys up, so if you need some help with that trash, I got you.
Okay, we're gonna vote to approve this. Mr. Ballard?
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. Passes 8-0. Action item number 7, public comment approved by the executive committee. Mr. Hansert had,
Mr. Chairman, don't you have the financial report after that?
I think
Not according to the agenda.
according to the agenda is after the next one.
Okay, I'm sorry. I missed number 7.
item number 7, the public comment approved by the executive committee. Mr. Hansert sent in, or your request, Scotty Hansert did, to make an approval to make a public comment, and so he did everything correctly, so we voted to allow him to come before us. So,
I
Mr.
appreciate
Hansert,
that, Gary.
You've got the floor, and if you would, state your name
Scott Hansert,
and your address, and you've got the floor.
215 Crethan Lane, Manchester, Tennessee. As most of you probably know or remember, a couple of years ago, I had a sign installed at the entrance of the baseball and softball facilities to remember the past baseball and one Lady Raider softball player that had lost their lives over the past several years, as well as my son, of course. But and to help to generate some of the money to advertising through the advertising of the sign, and to help take care of the upkeep of the outside of the hitting facility over the past 20 years, I have taken care of just about a lot, not all, but a lot of the outside myself, such as the trimming of the landscaping, pressure washing the hitting facility, putting down the parking lot sealer, a lot of the upkeep that the money that I've taken up or raised through my son's hitting facility and his memorial fund. Whenever we met with the school board, it was said that we would meet again after the sign was paid for to determine how the use of the sign would be, and as Mr. Gilly and Mr. Crabtree said that we would meet again. Well, we never did meet. I talked with Mr. Barton, and Mr. Barton talked to Mr. Lawson, and it never got put on the agenda. So, I've asked Mr. Barton here today to help us all, and me mostly, to recall the conversation that was said since that he was on the board at the time to help, to bring the sign up in the first place.
So are you making a specific request then of the board at this point? What would you, I guess the bottom line is, what are you requesting, or what would you like to see?
I would just like to be able to continue the fundraising from people that have contributed to the hitting facility, to the sign, that helped pay for the sign a couple of years, over the past couple of years, and we, paid for a sign. It, cost $30,000. And right now, I would like to be able to put that money toward the hitting facility, toward the upkeep, or to pour a sidewalk. I'm wanting to pour a sidewalk in front of the hitting facility at the present time, to take up the railroad ties that we put down 20 years, and just over a period of time, they've rotted, and I'd just like to be able to put a sidewalk down, and to be able to put the people that contribute money on the sign that, that I've been using and putting the advertising on for the past 2 years, and to be able to basically continue to do that.
Okay.
handle?
Do what?
How do we handle moving forward? Are we gonna how do we get into discussion to see?
Well,
what's
right now,
what's
there's no,
going on?
yeah, that's a great question. That's what I wanted. Did he have a request
Yeah,
that we,
what's
that we
going
could
on?
make a motion and a second, and then we could go down that road?
Yeah.
And change it if we needed to. So I
Yeah.
guess that's where I was kind of getting at. And so now,
Agreed,
and
I
we,
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how we got here. You know,
I remember what we did back then, but I mean, what's where do we need to go?
well, I'm just asking for permission to use the sign, continue, you know, people that, that contribute money to the hitting facility, to be able to use that money and then to also give them recognition and put their names on the sign for contributing money that we've done for the past 2 years, I
You
guess.
personally.
Yes, yes. As well as the, you know, the school system, and we have 2 users to that sign. You know, right now I'm on it, as well as Brad Costello he can put things on the sign as well.
I remember how that vote went down.
see, and I don't think we have a policy or any. Well, I don't know that.
Well, it fell under, at that time, it fell under the policy of basically structures being fully funded before they could be erected. And then a personal individual is not allowed basically to traffic in money on school property. It either has to be a school support organization that's approved by the board to support that sport, or via the school, athletic department, what have you. That's what I remember from that night. And I don't know.
I don't remember any of that being said.
Well,
And so that's where I don't. You know, I don't know
See,
where we
this
need to
is-
I
go.
don't know
Does
what we
this-
do. If he's asking for us to grant him permission to
I don't think we can do that, or we should do
operate
that.
sign, well, we could get it to discussion and then either vote it down or vote for it, right?
Well,
But
You
you
can
need to
vote
have
it
a
down.
motion.
But
You need to have a
Yeah,
motion
you need to have a
first.
motion. Some kind of motion.
it's not on the agenda already.
Well, it's on the agenda. The
Well, the discussion is on the agenda, but a vote to make a move.
yeah, and I'm not sure we would want to make. I mean, that as of right now, there's been no motion made.
So basically, you're here to get direction on how to handle the signage, the sign, and the money proceeds that come in with it, and that those all the proceeds from the sign go toward the hitting facility. How to do that in a
The
proper
upkeep.
way.
Yeah, the upkeep.
Right.
You know, and I would like to, because the way it is now, that they're saying, the problem that I've run into is the people that has donated the money, they want it to go, they have donated for the past 20 years. They want the money to go directly to something that I'm doing with the hitting facility. What has been brought up is that that money has to go into a fund, and then the 2 coaches, Brandon McCorder and the athletic director, Brad Costello, makes that decision on how that money is spent. The people that I have talked to that has been donating for the past 20 years, it says, you know, look, Scott, if you're not involved in this, we're just giving money out to somewhere we don't even know where it's going. You know, so, you know, I'm not on the board. I don't have any, I asked if I could have a say-so in how the money was spent. I cannot. And I've been doing this for 20 years. For 20 years, people's been donating money to the hitting facility. You know, we built an $85,000 hitting facility 20 years ago that's worth over $500,000 now.
But I think more now, your question is the proceeds that come from the sign, the usage of the sign, more than your donations
Right.
in the past.
Right. Well, but people are donating money now, and they want to be able to have a say-so in how that money is
Are
spent.
they donating to you, Scott, or are they taking it to the school?
You don't.
They've been donating it to me.
To you.
Mr. Hansard, I donated, me and my wife brought $250,000 up here to this school, to this office. They put it into account because I believed in an athletic facility behind Coffee County Middle School,
Right. So did I.
personally.
Exactly.
Brought a $250,000 check up here, and I paid another $250 out of my pocket. The 250, about 60 of it was made up of donations from donors, but it came up here and it went into this account. As we built that building and completed that building that became the school's property, they paid it from here, paid every tab, every bill, everything through here.
But Robert,
Because and that is definitely clarification of law, because I don't think it's legal to personally operate things on school property like that. You either got to be a school support organization or it goes through the school. Because when we done that building, the building back there, I came to the board meeting and I felt exactly the same way. And I made that comment sitting here, because immediately a couple of the other board members started speaking, and they said, well, we could have events in there, we could schedule other things to make money with that, the school could to make money with that. And I had a belief of locker rooms, the indoor turf that's in there, the weights that are in there, an indoor facility with hidden nets and everything inside of there for the middle school. Well, immediately when I heard that, I made the comment in that meeting that, well, that's not what I want. That's not what I want to give. And that's where, and I swear, I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was Miss Sims, and she said, Mr. Gilly, I want to explain something to you. When you give somebody a gift, you don't get to decide what they do or how they use that gift.
I'm not wanting to decide.
That rubbed me wrong, as I'm sure it just did you.
No, no, that's not. It's not it at all. I mean, these people.
Let me finish. I'm trying to, because I understand where you're coming from. Because I immediately fired right back and I said, well, I don't expect my gift that I give to somebody to show up at the pawn shop 2 weeks later. And she laughed and she understood both sides at that point. You know, as a board, I think we could respect what you intend to do with that money. But as a legal, you raise the money for this sign, you put this sign up, but by law and by rule, it's going to have to go through the school. But I think this board does have enough clout to say, okay, if we're all in agreement that the money this sign generates will go towards the maintenance of that sign and the maintenance of this building, and if there's excess left over, then it can be partied out. I think because that's exactly how we left that last meeting.
Mr. Chairman.
The last meeting we did was exactly that manner. And it was one of the two choices, either through the school support organization for those sports or through the school. But we kind of, as a board, spoke to earmark that to make sure it went to there. Maybe we need a motion.
Well, that's the thing. Right now, he's on the agenda. He had the public comment, and he's made the public comment. So if there can be a motion by the board or not at this point.
Can I make a motion to vote of a clarification so that we can let everybody know how this is needs to happen, that we all agree on? Or
Mr.
not
Shores?
agree, or do agree or not agree?
Mr. Shores, you have some information pertinent to this issue?
Well, I actually pulled the minutes from whenever Mr. Hansard came and asked the board to be able to put the sign up, get permission. I also pulled the minutes from when the Jumbotron, permission was given for the Jumbotron to go up, and in the setup that was there, and also pulled the minutes from when Mr. Hansard actually turned the sign completely over, and he was recognized for his hard work and his dedication to the baseball and the high school. And that was just about a year ago, I believe it was. So I went ahead and pulled those. If there's anything that you would like to read, for us to read and give you more information. But basically, the high school, we did bring in the ADs and the principal here. We got to keep it within the school system on what goes on the sign. It has to go, and it goes through a boosters group, and right now that'd be either the baseball or the softball boosters, and the money would go to the boosters to fund things that the boosters need.
But it could be earmarked for a specific use if the board approved that.
Yeah, that's not what I had.
If the board wants to get into that part of it, I guess
We need to
could,
get into that.
But
That's,
I would
okay.
say that you're limiting what the boosters and what their needs are, and basically saying they can only be used for these certain things.
But like Mr. Hansard said, if people are donating to the sign for it to be used for
Baseball and softball.
yes, then that's what it should be earmarked for. Or otherwise, the people that are donating would have to be told, you're just donating to the Booster Club.
And very well that those
That needs to be
people,
spelled
those
out.
donators, the donations could actually be given to the boosters with the understanding that they're giving it to the boosters for the use on the facilities. The thing is, it's not going through Mr. Hanser when
Right.
you're doing that. It's going
Right.
straight to those. And I
Well-
don't see there being if I don't
I
think
think-
the school would say, no, don't give us your money for
I think what has
anything.
happened here, though, is that there was never a closure to what you came up here and there was never a meeting, never anything decided
no,
on
ma'am.
how to handle things, and that's the issue.
Yes, ma'am.
Why
What it
was
is
there never a-
I'm still, I collect people that is donated to Crethen's hitting facility or to to Crethen's Memorial Foundation for 20 years. They're still giving that money to me, and they want to give that money to me. But all they're asking is for me to have some kind of say-so in where it's spent. And they're not giving it to me.
But they're not giving it to the boosters. They're giving it to.
Okay, if we give it to the
Crescent
boosters,
Cancer.
right.
But if the donation is made to the boosters, not the Crescent Cancer Foundation. There's two different things there. The Crescent Cancer Foundation is not the schools. It's not part of the school system.
I understand, you know.
It'd
see
be
the
like
difference
Dusty.
there?
It'd be like Dusty Elam giving money to us to use,
Right.
however
And
the
then are we
school
gonna
sees.
start letting the Elam family start putting things on our signs for each one of the ones that have donated to the
Dusty
Dusty
Elam.
Elam Foundation? And you can't go that
That's
direction.
why I
Now, would we
I
think
recognize
you can.
the Dusty Elam Foundation
It's
for
a big
doing
one.
a donation? Absolutely, because they're doing a donation to the school.
What if we made Mr. Hansard a member of the Booster Club? Would that fix
Well,
things?
That's
They're
that's
on
up to
their
the
own.
boosters.
That's
not for us to do.
See,
Yeah,
that's
that's
why.
I
what
think,
it-
first of all, we need to figure out why there was not a meeting with you.
Good question.
And why wasn't there? Did you come I talk to Dr. Lawson?
I told Mr. Barton, as I was going through him, my representative, Mr. Barton came up and tried to make a meeting, and it just never got put on the agenda.
Well, I'm not sure this
Well, it
needs to be
wasn't-
discussed. I'm not sure this.
We voted that night and approved that sign to go up. And that, under the agreement that the athletic department and you were gonna work out how you were going to make sure that money went there. You were done with the board at that point. We approved the sign to go up, but you had to do the second part, which was that agreement with them of how that would.
And I
They
thought
would
we
let
had that,
you
Robert,
know-
but it's,
Because I'm not sure the
Because
board.
it's easy for them to show you wherever dollar has went.
So maybe that's the action, is to get that agreement done
Yes.
and work out all the details and then go forward from there.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with the board.
It really has nothing to do with the board.
Right. We just,
And so,
you need us to say again, I guess, you just need us to reiterate again that that money has to, you need to acknowledge that money has to go through the school or the booster club. And they will provide you verification, which you can see it every year anyways. Your funds that you put went through there. That way you're not personally. But I think we do need to make a motion that, a motion to move to clarify how the board feels this process should be completed to finish this.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This seems to be such a muddle to me right now. I wouldn't feel comfortable voting on anything.
Well, we could get a
regarding this.
discussion then and then vote my motion down if, or I'll rescind it if we can figure out that we don't even need a motion. But
I
at
just think
least-
these folks need to get together and talk about it, and then they can come back to us and
If
we
there's
will know
policy
based
needs to
on
be
policy,
changed
yeah, we
that
will know
point.
what we can happen, but, Mr. Hansler, I'm gonna be honest, you're getting ready to sit on this board. You don't want people handing you money.
You can't.
You
That's,
really
that's
don't
why
want
I'm
people
here.
handing you money.
That's why I'm here
on
trying
this.
to resolve this, you know, so that I can, before I do get on the board. And I've made that clear to just about everybody here that this is why I'm here. I'm trying to get this resolved before I get on the board.
So it sounds like there's two things that need to be done. The first thing is we need to determine how the money's collected and make sure that's done correctly through policy. And then how it's earmarked. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. I mean, the people are donating, have known Crethen for
Right.
years and have donated substantial amount of money. And they just want to be able to, for me, to know how it's spent.
Right. And
You
I
know.
don't think the athletic department would have a problem with that.
They
Because
do.
if someone's donating for a certain purpose, they may not donate it then if they know it's not going for that
And I
purpose they
think there's a little
wanted.
bit,
Right
Scott,
right
that
before.
you want to put the things on the sign, correct? You want to be
Yeah,
able to
I'd
do
like to
that?
be able to put, well, the people that has donated, because they said,
Yeah,
Make sure you get them before.
yes.
yeah.
I'm
And-
gonna
and they-
go right
they-
there right now.
And they were saying that unless the money went through them, that they couldn't, you know, that their sign would not, their names would not go on the sign.
Well, I recommended to you a few nights before you come in. You remember me and you talked for a while, and I said, look, your only two options is through the athletic department or Booster Club. And I told you my feelings then. The Booster Club is your best aspect to feel like you have that say. Because the school can't tell the Booster Club what to spend it on other than supporting that club that they're
Representing.
supposed to be representing.
Well, our booster club is having problems with the athletic director over this stuff too. So and Robert, you know this. You know that there's.
I know what we do as the Booster Club because once I became a board member, I couldn't have anything else to do with the monies by law,
Right,
per school support organization and per being a board member laws.
yeah.
But I could preside over the meetings as the president of the club. Everybody else just handled the money and approved the monies.
You know, right
What
now,
was
our,
presented to them, just like anything, is how you can get that sense of, okay, well, I'm not gonna just dump it into this dumpster and then everybody pick from it. At least I know that what we intended to go towards football can be spent that way.
I guess what's happened for the past 20 years, Robert, is, you know, whenever we contributed money or people gave money, I would give it to them, give it to the booster clubs or whatever. But I've got an email right here that says I have no say-so now.
If you're not a voting member of that booster club,
Okay.
no, you don't. You're right.
Then how can I become somebody that has some type of, if I'm going to be
Every one
giving
of us has
money?
votes every year, as far as I know of. I know we do.
Yeah. But here's the thing, Robert. We've had 8 baseball coaches over the past 20 years.
Agree. I mean,
We've had 5 baseball coaches. We've had about 10 athletic directors. And every time I've gone through this for 20 years, and every time that a new athletic director comes on, a new baseball coach comes on, a new softball coach comes on, we go through the same thing.
I understand. I've been there. I mean, I have.
Yeah,
a
but
budget.
Robert, I've been there longer than you.
Personally,
20 years I've been doing
giving
this.
money, I don't know.
Yeah.
And giving amounts of money, I'm not going to go into that right now.
I know.
But what I mean, not that I don't even know that it's legal, because I swear I ran into it back then. You cannot personally, unless you are an approved school support organization or the school, you don't run any monies on the
Hey,
property.
I'm not trying to run it. I'm not trying to give them. I'm just trying to have say-so, a little bit of say-so.
Right. And
And how
I
this.
know where you're coming from. I've been there.
Would you come up? We'll have to have you speak into the microphone if you don't mind coming up, and if you want to add some input, you're welcome to clarify, or if you have any recommendations.
First, talking about the 20 years of donations, I can tell you baseball and softball took a loan out for that facility, and we paid out of our booster club our loan. We have the title of that facility. Everything we put inside that facility comes out of our booster club, right?
Now we have some school money that we, from time to time, that we spend. We'll buy lights with our school money. But I know the baseball team put a whole new turf down. We put new nets down. All that comes out of our booster club. Right? So we had a meeting with Mr. Hansard once this time kind of got took over from us, and myself, Mr. Parsley, Mr. Coslow, Mr. Hansard were in there. I brought up a recommendation. The money that comes from this sign be split 40-40-20. That's how we earmark it. 40% goes to baseball, 40% goes to softball, 20% goes to the facility. We put it all in the school account. Miss Amy would make another account for the facility amount, that 20%. And so every time a donation came in, it would be split into those 3 accounts. Now, obviously, the 40% and 40%, the baseball coach, softball coach would have access to that, depending on how they want to use it. The 20% would have to be spent with agreement from both coaches and the athletic directors on what we can do to upgrade the outside of the facilities. The sidewalk was something that I wanted to do because for the first 3 years, Mr. Hansard reached out to us to pay $300 a year for landscaping. Well, I was kind of getting tired of paying $300 out on Booster Club for landscaping that wasn't looking good anyway. So I wanted to take it up and put a sidewalk down. That 20% that we make, once we get enough money, that's what we would have done with it. So there was an agreement, now nothing that we signed, we all in that meeting, 40-40-20, and that's how we were going to earmark it into our accounts. He agreed to it, he thought that was great, and then it kind of exploded from there. We talked to some of the donors on the sign. When we called them, they had no clue what they were really giving the money for. They knew it was going to him, and we told them, hey, we've taken over, this is what we want to do with it, and they were like, that's fine, but we've already given money, you have to come back to us next year. So most of the companies know now that we've taken over and that this is what it's going to, but since they already gave him the money this year, we have to go back and do it again next year. So, kind of where we are.
So as I understand it, there's no actual agreement at this point for donating the sign and how the funds are distributed?
No, what we were told was just have a meeting with Mr. Hansard and decide how the money's gonna be spent. And that's what we did. We had a meeting. We said, I offered 40-40-20. He said, that's great. He said, I just want money to make sure it's going to the facility.
Do that before.
And so that's what we did.
The understanding was the money
But
either
it
went
seems
through a
to
booster
me,
club or
we
went
need to
through
get
the
that
school.
down
It
on
didn't go
paper and
personally.
with signatures,
Right, it
so
had to go through
that
them.
everybody's on board with that.
I mean,
So,
The
I
key
love
word
it.
here being 40-40-20. Why is it not a third, a third, a third? This is the problem that I had. This is the problem that I had with the people that was donating the money when I told them.
Well, because like we said, everything that's gone in that facility has come out of our boosters. So this is kind of paying back the boosters for all those money that we spent upgrading that facility ourselves. So we've spent, since I've been here in 6 years, I've probably put $4,000 inside that facility, if not more, of our booster club money. Not Mr. Hansard, not sign money. We haven't seen any sign money. We've put money in our account from our boosters, our parents have worked inside that facility to make it better each year. So we decided to help kind of repay them in that they can, we still can use that 40% on stuff that goes inside the facility. But we've spent a lot of money inside the facility. This sign was going to be able to help kind of get us back to making things better, not only in our facility, but on our softball field, on our baseball field. Now we don't spend, we don't take the 40%. Let's say it's $3,000, and we're just not going to blow it. Like I'm all about making my stuff better. We put a new dugout in. The new dugout came out of my booster club. Cost me $22,000 to put that dugout together. Came out of my booster club money. We're
I think
putting in a
y'all
new
had to pay
bullpen.
for the concrete. Did they not, the booster club not have to pay for the concrete under
No,
the
we
bleachers?
took care of it.
Yeah, they did take care of the concrete for us. But we took care of everything else. Construction class
How much
helped out a
money are
lot.
we talking about off that sign?
I have no clue.
Well, it depends, Robert, on whether all these people donate.
How many people you have on there and what is it cost?
I had 20-something people.
20, okay.
What do most of those donate? Different amounts, or what would you say the total was to?
$500 a year. But that was the thing is, again, as Brandon just said, I have no say-so. And that's the reason why they told him what they told him, was that, hey, look, we don't know where this money comes. We've been contributing to you, Scott, for 20 years. you've always done what the money, what you said you was gonna do with it, and
$2,000,
we have no,
is he
I have no
still
recourse.
got the
and it's-
money,
they-
or
there's-
where did it go?
I have no say-so in where, how that money's spent, and I was just gonna have it just for the upkeep
a lot
of
of
the
money.
outside of the
Huh?
hitting
That's a
facility,
lot of money.
not the inside.
10 grand?
But couldn't you keep up with what's being spent on each project and provide that to Mr. Hansard to give to those donors?
Absolutely. And, you know, coming as an
I mean, I'm
athletic
okay with
director.
it. I think it ought to be a come together, but the money's gonna run through the school. We're not personally gonna start taking money in and banking it and feeding the school.
Cannot do that. And we,
That'll get you.
No, I'm not saying that.
I know.
I'm just
but I
saying
think
what
that's
he
where
would
we're kinda
donate
heading at, and
to
that
the
gets put in
Booster
jail in a
Club
heartbeat.
would then be divided out the 3 ways, or the 40-40-20. Whatever improvements are done, provided they're done that year. If they're not, they sit there and then they accumulate to be able to
Obviously, the bigger
help
project, more money.
help with a bigger project.
Yeah.
But whatever you all do, you have the receipts for the projects that's been done. You provide those to Mr. Hansard to provide to his advertisers.
Absolutely. That's not hard to do.
Would
at
that
all.
be, is that what they're wanting to know?
Yeah, they're just wanting to know where that
Okay.
money's going, and if I have a say-so in it.
Keep in mind, the school system's paying the power on it.
they are, they're the expenses and the insurance and,
Well, I mean, there's even a level where you would go, do we give the sign back to Mr. Hansard and let him just handle it the way he was
We
handling it
can't
before?
do that.
yeah, we
You
can't.
can't
That
do
was,
that.
It has
you
become
can't
a-
do that.
I learned that 101.
So here's the problem with that.
Robert,
We
take
don't
your
know where
sign
that money's
home.
going
That's a
either.
no-no.
Take your sign
Now,
home.
here's what I can tell you that's been done at the facility. It's
you
been
did
pressure
that.
washed,
Yeah, that
which
hurts
now we
to
found
hand over
out
the
it was
keys
a
to
deal.
$300,000
Put the
car.
sign, put advertisement on the sign, the free pressure washing is what the company told us. So that was done for free. But he did pave our parking lot, which is great, love it. And he fixed the sign. As far as I know, in the 8 years I've been doing this, that's all that's been done in the facility. So,
I pressure washed it 3 years ago, Brandon.
Well, we're still talking, the numbers you gave us $10,000.
Mr. Parsley, you want to add to this, and then we'll probably need to decide if we're going to not be involved, yeah, or not. That's
Just a couple of basic clarifications. You know, when we had discussions about putting a sign, you know, at that back entrance to the school, we had discussed how that would be an apparatus, how that would be a vehicle to fundraise for the baseball program and the softball program. And also, money could be used for the Crethen Hansard hitting facility as well. But specifically, we had quite a bit of discussion about how it would be a fundraising vehicle for the baseball and softball programs, similar to how it's a fundraising vehicle for football over at the football field with the Jumbotron. And you know, with the video board that we have in our gymnasium, that's a fundraising apparatus for our volleyball and for our basketball teams. And so I just want to be clear that that was going to be a fundraiser for both baseball and softball in their programs. And when it comes to our programs at school, our head coaches are the leaders in deciding how the money for their programs are spent. When it comes to school clubs, the club sponsors are the leaders in determining how that money is spent. Now, I want to be very clear on this also. Any of that is anything they recommend and want to spend it on is going to have administrative approval. They are not the final say, but they do make those decisions and put them forth to us to make a call on it. I guess the final thing that I want to say is regarding someone donating money and wanting to know that it is going to a certain place. If an example that was used would be putting the sidewalk out in front of the hitting facility. We would love to have that. I think Mr. Hansard had told me it might cost about $5,000. Was that correct? And in discussion that he and I have had, if someone were to come to me or the athletic directors and say, hey, I want to donate $5,000 specifically for this sidewalk, or if a couple of businesses or a couple of individuals come and say that, we're simply going to say, thank you very much, and we'd love to have it.
But Paul, you also said that their names will not go on the sign.
Okay,
Yeah, okay.
okay.
You can
You know,
donate the
so-
sidewalk, but your names will not be on the sign.
So if people donate, again, it's, who are they donating to? If someone donates to the Crethen Hansard Foundation, that's one thing. If someone donates to the programs, that's another thing. So yes.
I'm still,
I don't know if anybody has a question for me, but that's about all I really wanted to say.
I mean, I think we're dancing all around the subject here. You're wanting to control the money yourself on that sign and give it to what you want to give it to.
Mr. Parsley made a good point, probably. I said, okay, if I take the money from Crethen's Memorial Fund, and I go build a sidewalk, nobody has to change hands?
Thank you.
No, nothing.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we put their names on the sign? The people that contribute the money. If I had 3 people that said they wanted to contribute
But
the
that's
money
still
to,
saying you're selling advertising. That's where the problem comes in, I think.
but you are.
And that's gonna be up to the boosters to decide what goes on the sign.
I'm telling you, it comes back to a law. I'd love to find out what that is.
I'd love
and
to
I'm
see
sure
that
I've
law.
got it in the stack of everything that I have.
I'd love to see that.
We can
law.
find that out, can't
No,
we?
I'm dead serious, and
No,
I'm
too.
not trying to, because
No,
I'm
I'm too.
telling you right now, if it could have been done, I guarantee you I would have done it.
If I had have known all of this, guys, this was never discussed. And when I bought the sign, none of this was brought up, and everybody knew what I was going to do with the sign.
No. It was brought up in this meeting, and I'll say it here on camera and in this microphone right here. It was definitely voted by this board and discussed to pass for you to do that.
Right.
However, you were under the understanding the monies either went through the approved school support organization or the athletic department. That was your 2 avenues. And I can remember this day, Mr. Lawson shaking his head yes, because it was left with, okay, now y'all go back and figure out how you're going to be happy and improved, because we did recommend that you want the money to be spent on the facility because of that, and that was kind of a tool and a mechanism to do that and provide the funds so they could spend their funds somewhere else, their other funds.
Are you
were
saying,
okay with that.
are you saying before he turned the sign over, correct?
No.
There's two different.
Basically, as soon as the sign is installed, it turns into the school system.
All of this was fine and good was whenever I was put the sign up.
You sit right here and listen.
Robert, you may need to go back and listen to that recording, buddy. Mr. Barton
Well,
did.
we can pull it.
Yeah,
But
Mr.
I'm
Barton
gonna tell you,
did.
I'm gonna tell you, and we probably need to get this to go to some kind of a vote.
Yeah.
Because personally, we can't personally allow somebody to sit here and run monies back and forth over our property lines.
We built a hitting facility like this, Robert.
I put a Jumbotron up, pushing and advocating and giving away and not asking for nothing in return and not asking for the control.
So here's.
But you have control.
Here's
No, I
I'm
don't.
not sure we have the expertise to say we need to dictate where this money goes to. I'm not sure that's the board's job.
I've tried, you can't.
Yeah, you can't, and it's not. And so I don't want to take a vote or a motion that's going to just get us in trouble.
That's what's gonna happen.
But what I'm hearing tonight, though, is it seems like the athletic department is willing to work and decide how it's divided out.
Well, the
Is that
one
not the
thing-
case, Mr. Hansard? Is that-
No. I asked him, it's a 40, 20, 40. But why can't it be a third, a third, a third? And I asked him, and they said, no. This is the way it's going to be. It's going to be 40. So I'm the one paying for the sign, and I'm the one collecting the money. But it's getting to where I want the money to go is getting the least amount of money. He just said 40, 40, 20. Why cannot be? The last time I checked, 3/3 was a whole.
Well, he's here.
Yeah, would that be a problem, 30, 30, 30? Do you control the booster club, or is there a president?
We have officers, yes.
Okay, so it's really not your decision, it's the booster club's, is that correct?
Yes, and I've talked to my booster club, once again, because of money that we put in, we own the title to that facility. That facility is our facility.
It's Coffee County Schools.
Well, but yeah, but we have the title, our booster club has the title in that loan. If you look at the title, it's Lady Rated Diamond Boosters and whatever baseball loan it was. That's what the name is on the title, it's in our name,
Title to what?
to that building.
How does
When
that
I paid
happen?
it off 6 years ago, they gave me the title, and it had Lady Ready Diamond boosters on the title name.
First of
that's
all, it's
Coffee
a
County
deed, the
Schools.
land would be
I
called,
get it, but once again, we put, I paid, when I took over, we were $12,000 from paying that thing off.
I'm confused.
Well, my booster club paid $12,000 to pay that off.
That, but I just,
Not
not sure
any
where the
donors,
sticking point
my
is.
booster club. We even
I
asked
think
about
we need to
donors.
make a motion that we understand what the booster clubs do and I think a lot of things have just gotten out of hand. Of all this money coming in.
Because
well, I
like
don't
in a
think any
policy
booster
that-
club's in trouble here. And that seems to be what you would be saying, that we need to
Well, no, I'm
understand
not
what
saying
they're
we're in
doing.
trouble, but, there's people all the time coming and collecting money from people, businesses, all the time. And we're writing checks to this and this and this I just wonder what the
I
process
wanna
is.
interject getting athletics more money.
I agree with you. I think that's one thing we need to do is up our athletic budget where the community's not having to do all this.
And
Ms. Rose, go ahead and have your say.
Oh, I don't have a say. I have a question, and I'm going to rely on Ms. Jones' expertise with real estate. What is a fixed property?
A fixed property is something that is stationary to a piece of land.
And it belongs to the owner of the land, correct?
But
Exactly.
someone would own a fixed property. What's your point?
It's okay, the building, the sign, they're all sitting on Coffee County School
Yeah,
property,
and it's
correct?
Coffee County Schools. He says it's titled to whom?
To the boosters.
To the Booster Club. So how can that be Coffee County
It's
Schools if
still
it's titled to
Coffee
the
County
Booster Club?
Schools.
Yeah,
It's still Coffee County Schools.
Okay, so your sign is titled to
They
the
may have
Booster
been
Club.
tied to the loan. and-
But it's the Coffee County
but it-
Schools
but it
building.
becomes
We
property.
never run it through here and asked for an exception to the policy. Like on the Jumbotron, we had to ask for an exception to the policy for 3 years. And the board had to vote to allow 3 years of it not being fully funded before it started construction. And the board voted to do that only because the bank came in here with us that night and
Agreed
ensured
to
the
back it
board,
up, yeah.
ensured the board that it was personally guaranteed outside the school and the school would never be financially liable for it. Because the whole policy was developed, I think, over the Hitton facility. Am I wrong? Was there a time period that we may had a little default and I think the bank came onto the school system wanting the money because it was on the property?
I never heard of it.
But it may not, I may be thinking out of something totally off the wall, but
No, I've never heard of that.
Okay, the sign belongs to Coffee County Schools. Not only does it belong as soon as it was put onto to the property, he also handed it over to the school system on March 13th, 2023 to this board. The sign is the school's sign.
Okay, and
Yeah,
the
that's
building,
it.
and the building is also.
The building is also the school's building.
It's titled
yes.
Coffee
Every one
County
of 'em.
Board of Education or Coffee County
Okay,
Schools.
I don't know what's on the
Yes,
title for the building. With what they did, I'm saying that the building
There ain't no
belongs
title
to
on it.
Okay, well, he says
Coffee
it's
County
titled to the
Schools.
Booster Club.
It is the Coffee County Schools building.
yeah, there's no title on there's no title on the Jumbotron. There's no title on the building that I gave to the school system that's behind Coffee County Middle School. That is just fixed asset planted on school property that becomes a capital
Right.
improvement.
Your
to the
sign
school
would
system.
just be a fixture.
Right.
Right.
So the sign belongs to Coffee County Schools. If somebody wants to make a donation to the Coffee County Schools, the boosters will take their donation. Yes, I agree, Scott. You do not have the right to tell what that money is used for unless you are giving them the money and saying, here's money to put towards this. If you don't want to put it towards this, I'm not giving you the money. That's pretty well it. Yeah. That's the end of it. The boosters have the sign and have the rights to use the sign accordingly for the two sports that are there.
And that's the closest you're gonna get to control of the funds is via a board like that.
I mean, the
School
board,
support organization.
To
Both-
say what it is at the at the time of
It's
donation?
just like the Jumbotron, because, and I've heard this over the last few days, because the Jumbotron, because the quarterback club operates it, benefits from the money from it, blah, blah, blah. Well, the quarterback club solely, and that's why we turn in all of our records every year for inspection, supports Red Raider football. All right. The control and the ability to do that was done via an agreement, an operational agreement that the board agreed to sign and signed between the quarterback club and the school system
Can I get that same
to
agreement?
do that.
Can
Huh?
I get that same agreement?
I developed it before I even come to the board. And
Once
before
again,
the sign ever went up.
creating a contract after the fact.
At that time, it was chess, not checkers.
Well, I think it's pretty silly that if someone wants to donate money for a specific reason, why wouldn't a booster club honor that?
They would.
Okay, if they would,
There's no
they
problem
would.
with that.
But they're not donating it to the booster club.
He
They're
wanted
donating it to
him,
Mr.
And
Hanser.
then him give it and
That's a
dictate where it goes
different
and then put their name
different
on the
area.
sign.
He can say that he's going to do it, but he doesn't have that right. It's the boosters have the right to say, yes, we will take your money and we will do those things. Mr. Hanser does not have that right.
But I also think that if he's taking donations for advertising on that sign, if he had a
But
list.
he can't.
He should not be.
He can't.
Well,
He
but I'm
cannot
saying,
take
if those
donations.
people are giving him money for donations to advertise on that
has to be
sign,
perfect.
and he turns it over to the booster club, I would think that the booster club would put their advertisement on that sign.
Yes, we would. If they're giving the money to the booster club.
He's giving the money.
No. We haven't seen any money.
Okay.
Policy.
No money has been handed over to athletics or the booster club.
But I guess what I'm saying is, if he still is acting as a conduit for his son's memorial fund,
First paragraph of policy.
could he still not donate that
Yeah,
to
hold
you
on, I'll
all
let
with
you
the
read
list
that.
of
You gotta go.
advertisers that you all would put their advertisement on that sign?
Thank you, Bree.
Does that make? I mean,
Here's our first. Mr. Gilly's going to read the policy
Policy
that really
2.
directly
That's all I'm asking
affects
for
this.
what Bree just said.
Policy 2.404, which has been issued since 4/5 of 2010. The very first paragraph, only a group or organization that has entered into a written cooperative agreement with the board may use the name, mascot, or logo of a school or the school district to solicit or raise money, materials, property, security, services, or other things of value. That's where your school support organizations that were approved by the board, or obviously the school.
Yeah, I think Mr.
Come
Hanser's
into play.
raising money on the behalf of the Hansert Foundation, correct? It's not the Coffee County Schools. It's Crethen Hansert. Now, that gives him control to do what he wants to do with that money. He can do whatever he wants to do with that money. But if it comes to the school, we take care of it.
That's why your school support organization is the best way for school to benefit from the money and you get a say so.
I mean, my point is, like you said, if you give it to the school system, then you just do whatever you want to with it, not what the person gave it to you for.
If the person went to Brandon McWhorter and said, here's $10,000 to put an amazing sidewalk, he's not gonna put it somewhere else. You're gonna put a sidewalk in, right? Yes. Otherwise, the company or the donation is not gonna be given.
So what he's wanting to sell advertisements. Sell advertisement and dictate where the money goes. That's where the problem
But the
is.
advertisements for Crethen
Hansard,
Hansard,
it's not for
not
the
for
school.
Coffee County
That's
Schools.
there's a step missing there. That's
You
where
can't do that.
That's where our issue is.
And that's where the school board should not get involved.
Get involved. Yeah. Because we do have the policy, and if the policy needs to be changed, that's where yeah.
Well, who is the determining factor if these two groups can agree? You? Today's no.
well, but I mean, I'm saying that, but I don't know
What
if
you're
that's
saying is illegal for you.
legal.
What they're saying, it's illegal And that's what you're saying? It's illegal for him to
Okay, let me ask you this
collect
again
money?
and say
It
this.
was through on me, and it was through on me back then. Because they really, really, really wanted the money for the Jumbotron, but wasn't gonna guarantee that the Jumbotron was gonna go up. Well, we had to get in via the school support organization and then just look for approval to do it where we wanted to do it, and then have the operational agreement to operate it the way we intended. And that was just it came down to a group of 10 deciding where our funds went rather than one individual. And plus, the quarterback club was a 501c3 on its own, so it was a separate entity, but it was the approved school support organization for Red Raider football. That's how it, but as far as a individual and directive, it's always been a no-no. And I swear it reverted back to law. And
So you're saying it's illegal for me to collect money for a program and then take it to them and say, I've collected this money?
operate on school property.
So that's,
Yeah.
well,
Because this is on school
so
property.
you'd have to be a member of a booster club to do that?
Yes.
Let me
So-
ask Brandon,
Approved
if,
school support
if one of us brought you $5,000 and said 4 sister businesses of us associated donated this money, can you use this for your organization and put a thank you to those businesses on your sign?
Absolutely. I'll give you an example. I had a business give me $1,000 to help me purchase a shed. All they asked for was a sign on my field for 5 years. We put a sign on this is my field for 5 years. We do it all the time. I mean,
Okay.
that's not a question. I mean,
So I guess that's what I'm saying. If he brings you a handful of check and says that these 5 people have donated it and want to donate it to the,
But they donated to Crethan Hansard, not to Coffee County Schools. That's
Correct.
So the
that's
first
the
thing we
problem.
need to do is
He cannot have it donated to Crethan Hansard.
what about if they donate it to me and I hand it back to him?
But that's like a donation. If we would do what?
Well, what I just said, and he said, yes, I could do it. I said, if I bring 4 businesses that's associated with me, we have a check for $10,000, and I hand it to Brandon, and I say, we want to donate this to the softball and baseball. And at that time, I say, the only thing that they ask is you put a thank you on the sign that would run for,
But they're
2
donating-
games or
Okay,
something.
the thing is, do you have a
Donating to
foundation?
you, or they're donating to him?
if you give my program $10,000, my program's gonna spend that $10,000 where they want to. Well, the same thing.
I didn't ask you how to spend it. I just said, would you put a thank you on the sign?
He's telling us how to spend it. So he wants to give this donation and say, you have to spend it this way. We're good. If he writes me a check for $15,000, he has all of his signs.
All his
that
donors.
say, these are the companies who donated this $15,000. Those companies will be on that sign, no question asked.
Okay.
We agree.
But you're
That's
gonna
what
do
I'm
what
trying
you
to
want to with
understand.
it. You're gonna do what you want to with it. You're not gonna ask whoever give it to you if they had a option. So in other words, when we donate money, it's just up to you and whoever wants to make the decision how they spend it.
It's up to me and the Booster Club. The Booster Club now, if it goes into the Booster Club account, I give my Booster Club a budget. And I ask them how to spend the money. I can't spend my money in the Booster Club. My 4 officers, my board can dictate it, and then it's gotta go a majority vote within the Booster Club. How to spend the money that goes to them.
Who's on the football? Do we have a school employee that runs the football booster club?
School employees can
I'm the president of it.
I mean, do we have a school employee that? Okay.
As far
Well,
as the
how
money's,
how can
nobody-
you do that?
Huh?
I mean, how can you dictate to the booster club if they can't?
Roger Haynes is also part of their booster.
No, he's
He's
not.
not- he's not in there?
Coach cannot be associated with the booster
And
club.
that's what.
Oh, he's not,
To a certain degree.
so he doesn't ask for things and
He
you
asks,
get the same
but
thing.
he's not a
So
voter.
we need to be talking to
Makes
the
sense.
booster club then.
Yeah, see,
No, we don't. We
In the
need,
last year, how
We
much
need
did
to
you
keep
give
out
them
of
some
it.
money?
The way it works, Frida,
Okay.
to
Okay.
a
So it's the
school
booster-
support organization is the coach usually makes a request at the beginning of the
trying to
year.
think
Hey,
since
I'd like to
March.
have all
Right.
these items, and they're gonna total $20,000.
Right.
Then as a school support organization, you try to fulfill all those for the coach.
Huh.
but your money is banked here and not in the school. And these 10 people who are usually more friendly with each other sometimes because tend to, but either which way, it's still going to where it's supposed to go.
But now, we weren't even talking about putting it into boost clubs. We were talking about putting it into the school account. The money that came from that sign would be put into the school account. Now, the athletic directors and principals would have kind of say over that school account money and how that's spent. But no, we weren't even talking about taking the money to the boost club. The only way we would talk about doing that is if the boost club went out and sold those advertisements, just like they do for the signs in the field. If they sold the advertisements, but we weren't talking about that. We were talking about the athletic directors and Mr. Hansard going out and getting that money, which would then go back into the school account. So the boost clubs really weren't even getting any of this money anyway. That's not our initial discussion.
So if you had $30,000 this sign made and it went into the school account, 10,000 would go to baseball, 10,000 would go to softball, 10,000 would go to the fund to maintain the sign and all that good stuff. Because even the quarterback club takes certain percentage of every sale, banks it, because at some point that sign's not going to work. And there's going to have to be money to replace it. And the same goes with our sales. See, everybody sells on the Jumbotron. Girls soccer, boys soccer, track, every one of those people sell ads on that Jumbotron because that was part of the whole Title IX thing. Everybody had to be included into that and have an opportunity to benefit from it. So percentages of every single sale go to those anyways, even off the Jumbotron.
And that's part of the thing. They can sell whatever they want to. I encourage them to
Yeah.
sell. I want them to sell.
Yeah.
But it's like, Brandon went down to Stan McNabb's, and Stan called me himself. Stan's a good friend. He's been donating a lot of money toward that heating facility. So Brandon takes it upon himself to go down to Stan McNabb's and ask them for the money, like you said a while ago. Stan calls me and asks me, he's come down there. Well, Brandon calls me and asks me when I'm gonna bring him the check. Did you not, Brandon?
Brad actually went to Stan McNabb. I did call you about the check.
Yeah.
Because he gave us a list of all the people who advertised. And so our agreement was we're gonna start contacting them to say, hey, we've taken over the sign, here's what us. The very first person we called was Stan McNabb. I think we actually talked to Trent. And Trent's like, we just gave a check to Scott. He's got it. We're like, okay. So then we kind of went to Scott, hey, you got that check, thinking Scott was going to, like Brent said, hand that check over to us, because that was the advertisement. And response I got was, no, it went into the President Hansard Foundation. Well, I can't do anything with the President Hansard Foundation. Like, that's not, actually the officer on the President Hansard Foundation, Terry Forey, is the officer, so really he's the only one that can handle that money, but that's another point for another time.
So I'm not sure that we're heading down any roads right now. We're not. And so unless we can get a motion of something that we need to take some sort of action on right now, I don't know. I mean, we've heard from both sides, and
What can the board do to facilitate getting an agreement? Because right now, there's no agreement. So can we do something to facilitate getting an agreement, or?
Further than saying what we said the last time is,
Yeah.
okay, you can put the sign up on school property, but work out an agreement that it goes through the school.
Yeah,
Can't
we're not.
make anybody.
No, we can't act as an arbitrator.
Let's just reiterate, I guess.
Why did we accept the sign back in March of last year if we didn't do what we were supposed to?
Because he was.
Mr. Barton,
The
what,
sign was a gift to the Coffee County schools.
But he was okay, in the discussion, he was okay with the fact of running the money through the school so long as they would show him and prove to him that they were spending that money
On those facilities.
the facility and the sign.
And they are not.
And maybe something can be done, but maybe we don't have to take
And
action
then
right
we
at
said,
this moment.
okay, well, we voted, you can put the sign up, but y'all need to get that agreement in place, and Mr. Lawson did nod his head that he would, I
well,
guess.
Mr. Barton, did you talk to Dr. Lawson about that? You were on the board at that time.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Barton, yeah. And then, if we can
Come
hear
up
you
here.
up here.
Pat Barton. 1052 Tolliver Lake Road, Manchester. Former board member and board member at the time that this was done. And the first thing that I would say is there's a recording you can go to. Yeah. Actually, I asked for the recording and it was sent to me because I wanted to hear it. I listened to it 3 times. And so if you want to listen to the recording of that board meeting, it's there. Then I remember that Mr. Crabtree started asking some questions. At that point, Mr. Gilly, rightfully so, said that'll be worked out at the meeting. Now, and worked out, that would be, have a meeting like the board did with the Jumbotron. At the time, you came before us about 3 times, and we discussed it. So that was the meeting that we needed, just like with you. And then I left here saying, okay, we've approved it. There will be a meeting and an agreement will be drawn up. Mr. Hansard called me about 3 or 4 weeks later. He asked me when the meeting would be. And I said, you haven't been contacted? And he said, I haven't heard anything. I said, I'll go see Dr. Lawson, get you on the agenda at the next work session. I went to Dr. Lawson and told him of my conversation with Mr. Hansard, and he told me, he said, it's not my place to contact him. And I said, Mr. Hansard is expecting a meeting, and if you just call him, put him on our work session coming up, then we can have an agreement. We'll sit down and hash all this out. Dr. Lawson told me at that time, he said, well, I don't have his phone number. Yeah. So I left, and I thought when I walked out that door right there, I thought, oh, okay, hope this doesn't come back to bite you. And here we are.
Okay, thank you.
All due respect, Mr. Barton, and you know I've got the greatest amount for you. I think it was a miscommunication there because my interpretation of meeting was between
them, not the board, because that's not wasn't the board's
did all they
responsibility.
could do, which all the board could do at that time with the motion was approve that sign to happen.
Yeah,
To do
that's
that sign.
what the motion was, not to work out a contract to how it
Ms.
was going to
Frida,
be ran.
do you remember that? I mean, it was, hey, you're good to do that, but I swear it was coming down to the
But
meeting.
someone had to
meeting I
initiate
took.
it, you know.
You know, you may have took meeting as being a board meeting, another board meeting or a work session, but when I took meeting, I took it as those two was gonna come up with the agreement that everybody was okay with, and Dr. Lawson could sign that agreement on behalf of the school system to honor it for everybody.
And that was my understanding as well.
And I because you're not gonna find a better advocate for me for athletics.
Oh, I know it.
But the issue is no one initiated the meeting, you know.
They had a meeting.
And I hear
They
that.
did have
Did you
meetings,
have a
and
meeting?
They discussed it, but the
Did
outcome
you
was
have a
not-
meeting, Mr. Hansard?
Where'd the 40-40-20 come up at?
Yeah, they had to meet to discuss 30-30.
Not with Dr. Lawson. I thought we were having.
I don't think it was Dr. Lawson's place to do it.
Like I'm in the confusion because I left that night going, okay, these two are gonna meet, they're gonna work this out. We're gonna hear about an agreement getting filed. Nobody's ever gonna hear nothing about it because we approved it and put a sign up.
Yeah, we approved to allow the sign to be
But I
constructed.
think Mr. Barton may have thought, well, it's another board meeting.
But not a board meeting, because we wouldn't do that at a board
Right,
meeting.
right.
But a work session, next work session, work it out so everybody would understand what's
that's not-
going on. But when I left, the word meeting, I thought would be with us.
But that's
with the
not,
work
wasn't
session.
our
but that's not the
responsibility.
place of the board to do that.
Not our
And you
responsibility.
and I, Mr. Crabtree, we can respectfully say that I went thinking one thing, you
And we
went
thought
thinking
another. Absolutely.
Me too. Me too.
Him also.
Like I say, I don't think
Yeah.
we're not going to get anywhere.
Is there
and so
a
it's-
dilemma that needs to be rectified? Oh, yeah.
Yep. But how we do it doesn't mean that we
I don't know
can't
that
take
it does.
steps. But I don't think right now we know what that step is.
I think it needs to be a process between those two groups, followed by probably the next level up, making a decision or so until ultimately, I guess it would come back to us if there finally isn't an agreement, and then we're just gonna have to rely on law.
We're on policy and
I
law.
sort of say legally, if Mr. Hansard can't do what he wishes to do, there's nothing we can do. I mean, he has to decide what you want to do, so.
Anyhow, so at this
Going forward with asking people for donations and things of that matter, I would think, so.
Well, it sounds to me
Because-
like it got broken down whenever you met with Dr. Lawson and nothing was said. And, you know, you just don't shove things under the table. Someone should have taken the initiative to say, okay, this is an issue. We've got to get this straightened out. And no one did that.
We approved to take the sign from him last March.
I'm not talking about the board.
But no one asked the question, had there been an agreement worked out or whatever, and there was board members that were here at that time. So, I mean, a lot of people didn't ask questions.
Well, I think this is still open and that we're not gonna take action right now, but
That definitely needs to be, because policy 2.404, if he's going to sell, solicit
it would
on
have to
school
be,
property, he at least has to be approved by the board to do that. And then it has to be a legal school support organization based off, and the comptroller defines what that is.
Here's the thing, Robert, is where I'm confused is, I've been doing this for 20 years. I had people donating, and the thousands and thousands of dollars that was donated to build that hitting facility, and not a word was said. Why all of a sudden is this just now coming up?
I just know what I've had to go through in the last 10 years with over $1 million.
because we're selling advertisement at this point, and how the advertisement is sold is the legal
I
part.
mean, I love it. Don't get me wrong, and I want it on record.
Instead of
I want it
collecting
on
a
record.
donation
I
for
love
the school,
everything
you're selling
you do
something.
to try to help baseball and softball. Every bit of it, 150%. I love every bit of it, but there's a way to do this, a right way and a wrong way. And I think we just disagree on that, respectfully. And cuss me when we leave. I'm okay. I'm good.
All right, we have spent an hour, and I don't think we're gonna go any further at this point, and so if we have recommendations or motions that, in the future, then they can be brought by any board member. But right now, we're gonna.
I would think
move
what's been
on.
learned from this would be that he's not gonna be the last person to ask to do something of this nature.
Absolutely.
So what are we gonna do to fix this and come up with a plan and?
Well, I was told numerous times over the last 10 years exactly the way we need to be doing it, and policy plainly states
It does state that.
So that follows it.
It plainly states it.
Yeah.
However, I mean, there again, it breaks my heart to think that I'm sitting here not agreeing and scolding with somebody who is a great contributor.
No, I'm not disagreeing with that. I just don't
like
think
I
you
say,
get
we've
back
got
in
to
this
find that
point
right way
again.
and that wrong
How
way.
it's,
Maybe the next
how
work
it's
session,
contributed.
maybe the next work session, if y'all two could please come up with something that y'all could agree on that will follow policy 2.404 and anything the comptroller's got with school support organization, and come together. And at the work session, let's talk about it, make sure we're okay with it then, and then get it ready to either approve, not approve, whatever we can do legally by policy and by rule. So it's kind of like we're just telling to get an agreement together. But I don't know if that's gonna happen. I'm gonna be quiet.
Okay. All right. Thank everyone for their comment and their understanding, and but with no action being requested, we'll move to action item number 8, the budget update. Ms. Melson.
This is the budget update through April. We have received 89.66% revenues compared to last year of 86.75%, so a little bit ahead of where we were at last year. And then expenditures through April, we have used 67.78% to compared to last year of 71.05%. Expenditures are on track, revenues on track to meet. Revenues are on track to meet budget. You can see that expenditures are slightly below last year's, so no, there's no issues with the budget update.
Okay. Does this budget update come with the director's recommendation?
Yes, it does.
And like to entertain a motion to accept the budget update that's been provided.
So move.
Mr. Gilly and a second from Mr. Crabtree. Questions on this? Hearing none, we're voting to approve the budget update. Mr. Gilly.
Aye.
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 Chair votes aye. That passes 8-0. All right. Any other items for discussion? Principals. Nothing?
You sure? Why not? Come on. Can I ask something?
Yeah, go ahead.
Of them?
Yeah.
Was there not a function, because I got an invite to a function at the field house, or the hitting facility, with some finger foods and that thing to thank everyone who wanted to be on a sign or make other donations and stuff like that?
They're gonna set it up, invited everybody on the advertisement to come out to kind of see the facility.
From that list?
From that list and show them.
And that's where you learned, okay.
All right.
My right eye's twitching.
Committee, do what you want to speak?
Stroke.
Okay, no, go ahead.
Committee, there's been no committees.
committees.
Director's
Did we
report.
pass by the board
Please no.
discussion?
Anything that,
As far as with ESSER, we're continuing to work through some things with it and getting some things taken care of, but just working on through it. Letting you know that there's a lot of projects going on during the summer as normal, and a lot of improvements being done to our facilities.
you have a question, Mr. Ballard?
Well, did we pass by the boards?
Yes. Did you want to say something? Go ahead.
I wanted to, had a couple items. One, a clarification from last week, and then one, a legislative item that we need to probably pay attention to. And Ms. Frida had a comment or some questions last week about my encounter with Dr. Lawson at Dunkin' Donuts, and I was gonna let it lie and felt the point had been made, but then the email came out last week. But I do want to say there is indeed a video of the discussion, and anybody that's been to Dunkin' Donuts knows they have an insane number of cameras in that place. So I'll just leave that there. Second item is SB 1060 is an update to the All Appropriate Materials Act, and that is scheduled to go into effect July 1st. That will require some action on our part, the school's part, updating our all appropriate materials. And it's basically more the database of what you have in the school library and that, but they've kind of made it a little stronger than it was before. So that goes into effect July 1st, so we probably need to look at that or at least the school administration and what it takes to comply with that, so.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? If not, I'm going
I have one thing. I want to thank the athletic departments and all the people, all the work y'all do with the booster clubs. Those parents work so hard, and it's not that any of us are being negative about anything. It's just trying to make sure that people that are donating money with Mr. Hansard, that it's all handled properly and the money is going where they think it's going. So we appreciate all y'all. And then I have one other thing. Can we get an exit and an entrance sign at the middle school? Because I dropped Bridger off the other day and I was going out the exit and there was a car coming from Woodbury and he almost hit me head on trying to pull in. I was going to turn left to go and he thought it was the entrance. They were having some kind of event. I forgot what I left him over there for. But they do, people that's not familiar with the middle school, they do not know. Even though it says do not enter, they don't see that from the highway.
I did the same thing.
Yeah,
Thursday.
it happens
The
out
bushes
there
have
with
gotten
that 3
taller.
lanes.
Right.
It happens.
Makes a curve. I was trying to
I
light
got-
a cigarette.
We have those ordered,
I'm over
but the thing is, and I've been to many places with a do not enter, with an exit sign, with an entrance sign, and people pulling in the exit. and everything's there, and they're still doing it.
But why not
I
put
have
it
Is
there?
that reading or comprehension?
Wouldn't it be
I'm just
better?
telling you what.
But wouldn't it be better to have a sign and stop somebody from doing it?
Once again, the sign has been ordered.
Okay.
Oh, good.
The arrows have been changed.
Yeah, the arrows have been changed. That's good.
Y'all done gave me a headache twice in 7 days.
Thank you.
With that, I'm gonna entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Great night.
All right.